Hi there. Welcome to Pause to Reflect, a podcast, or a dogcast, if you will, all about, you guessed it, dogs. Hear inspiring stories of everyday people working with extraordinary dogs and how these dogs have helped their person in significant ways. We also hear from the experts in their fields, including veterinarians, animal behavioralists, trainers, groomers, and so many more. We'll also be delving into the exciting worlds of competitive canine sports, some of which you may never have heard of. I am your host, Barbara Ann. So grab your bowl of treats and get ready to have a reason to smile today, because dogs. We are here with Joe Gura, and thank you, Joe, for joining us. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm retired from the Massachusetts State Police. I did 32 years there. While I was there, I was a trooper, and when I first got on, I was assigned out in the Lee Barracks, and then in 1988, I got my first patrol narcotics dog. I had that dog for about a year and a half or so, and then the dog ended up having an epileptic seizure, and we had to put it down. Then my next dog I got a few months after that, and I worked that dog until 2006, and that was also a patrol narcotics dog.
So both of them were patrol narcotics. Was there a particular breed that you guys were working with?
Both of them were German Shepherds.
So not the Malinois that everybody knows about. It's a German Shepherd.
Correct.
Now, did you get to choose your kind of dog, or was that simply a dog that most police forces were using at the time?
It was the dogs that we were using on the state police at the time. Both of the dogs had been purchased in Germany and shipped over here. The second dog that I had actually had a different handler before me, and he got promoted out of the unit. So when my first dog passed away, or when we put him down, there was a dog available, so I was able to get paired with that dog. Basically, it's a piece of issued equipment. You don't get to pick and choose. You're given a dog, and you got to make it work.
Right. Was it trained at all when you first got it, or did you get to train it from start to finish?
Both dog. Well, the first dog had some training from Europe, and then when it came over here, we were required to do I think it was 12 weeks of patrol training, and then another 6 weeks of narcotics training.
Why did you choose to work with dogs as a trooper? Why was that an interest? Did you always like dogs? Was it something they just said, hey?
Prior to having a police dog, I had never owned a pet dog in my entire life.
That's the second time I've heard that from a person working with dogs in a professional caliber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started in 1986 on the state police, I was assigned to the Lee Barracks, and there was a trooper that was assigned to that barracks that had a dog, and I started helping him with the dog, with working his dog and helping him train with it, and helping do the bite work and stuff like that. So I got interested in it, and then in 1988 they were expanding the program, and an opening came up, and I was able to get transferred into that unit.
That's cool. You've never owned a dog before that?
No.
Why?
My parents didn't want us to have a dog.
Got it. So talk to me, what did it look like for you, for a person who's never owned a dog, to now being responsible and working side by side with one of the most amazing dogs I'm sure you've ever met?
It took some getting used to. It's a lot of, especially with work dogs, it's a lot of work. You got to keep up with the training, and you have to be careful, with people around them, depending on the dog. My first dog was not real people friendly. I mean, I could bring him around people, but I had to always be cautious with it. The second dog I had was a cream puff. I could take her to a school, and 5-year-olds could hang all over him, and he would just stand there and not care. So it depends on the dog and the personality of the dog.
Right, and people aren't very intelligent when it comes to giving dogs their space.
Correct.
Still. So when you were training, when you first started working with your dog, did you I obviously there's people out there that's trained specifically for state police and the jobs that the dogs do for the police department. How did you go about finding a trainer?
The state police has their own in-house training program, so we had trainers that had gone through the training certifications through what's called NAPWADA, the North American Police Work Dog Association. So they go up through the cycle to become a trainer, and then a master trainer, and then they can train other officers on how to handle their dog. We had 2 or 3 trainers in the unit at the time, and the state police still do have their own in-house trainers. They train you for the period of time, and then NAPWADA comes in and tests you and certifies you, so that when you go to testify in court, you can testify to certifications in the different areas that the dog is required to work in. And then you got recertified every year. You were required to recertify every year.
Now, because I'm going to ask this because not too long ago, a trooper went on vacation, left their dog in a local kennel, and said dog jumped over 2 6-foot wired fences and left. And they had to bring the trooper home in order to come get the dog because no one could get the dog. What happens when you go on vacation, or you no longer work with dogs, or you don't have a dog per se because you're a retired trooper, but you still work with dogs in some calibers, and we'll get to that, I think. What happens when you go on vacation? When you were responsible for that dog, what happened? Did you go on? Were you even able to go on vacation? Because I know that there weren't many dogs working in the 80s as it was.
We could still take time off and go on vacation. Fortunately for us at the time, at the time that I was on the canine unit and handling a patrol dog, we had a kennel that was local to where I lived, that the owner of the kennel was the wife of a high-ranking state police officer. So she would take our dogs in, and she knew how to handle our dogs. So we used to be able to kennel the dogs there. Both of my dogs lived outside in outdoor kennels, and I lived next door to my parents at the time. And my father was able, if I needed to have somebody take care of the dog, he was able to go out and feed the dog and take care of the dog and walk it and stuff like that. So I had people that were available to do it.
Walk me through a typical day with you. You have the dog with you while you're on patrol, and there's a special case that you need to go to. What did that look like?
It depended. It depended day to day. The dogs were trained in tracking, in article searches, finding things. They were used for crowd control. They were used for, in my case, narcotics detection. So I could be getting a call to go to a motor vehicle stop where somebody ran away and took off into the woods, and we would get there, and then we would start a track. I could get, once I finished that, right after that, I could get a call that somebody has a motor vehicle stop and they want the dog to search the car for drugs.
So it wasn't specific. Like, I know some tracking dogs are simply tracking dogs, and some narcotic dogs don't do tracking. They only focus on narcotics. Yours kind of did a little bit of all of that.
Yes, most of the dogs are on the state police are what they call dual purpose dogs for patrol work. They do their patrol work, which is the tracking, the article searches, and all that. And then various ones have specific scent training. In my case, it was narcotics. Other dogs were cadaver dogs that looked for
human
dead
remains.
bodies,
Yep.
Human remains. So it just depended what the department needed at the time and what they wanted you to do with your dog.
Mm-hmm. And so the first one passed after about 1.5 years, you said, from a seizure.
Correct.
Was that some kind, did they even determine, or did they care to determine, was that a genetic thing? Did you stay with the same breeders in Germany? How did that work? Do you know?
I don't know if they followed up on that part of it. It's common for dogs, especially that breed, to have epilepsy. Usually what happens is when the dog has its first episode and it's minor, then you can control it with medication. A lot of times if the episode is severe, then in this case the dog started seizing I was working at the time. I had was just finishing up my shift. I walked into the Springfield barracks to get a cup of coffee. I came back out. My dog was seizing in the back of the cruiser. We brought him right away to a vet down in Springfield. They weren't able to stop the seizures there. They made the suggestion or recommendation that we bring the dog to Tufts Veterinary Hospital in Grafton, which was the facility that took care of all of our state police animals, our dogs, our horses, and all that. So our air wing actually came and picked me up at the Springfield barracks in a helicopter and flew us out there. They worked on the dog for many hours, and they were ultimately able to stop the seizure, but basically they said the dog's brain was cooked from having the epileptic attack that it had. So they ended up having to put it down.
Poor thing. Going back to, you said crowd control. What would that look like? What would a typical crowd control dog do? What would you simply walk the perimeter? How did a dog change your ability for crowd control?
It depended on the situation. Sometimes the dog would just be, there would be, say it's a riot situation. We did a lot of stuff with UMass and parties at the campuses there. A lot of times just bringing the dog out of the car and having him stand with the troopers that were already there in line would get people to move away. If that didn't
simply
work,
their presence
Yes.
seemed
Yes.
to help that situation.
Correct. And then if that didn't work, we could escalate by bringing the dogs forward and getting them ahead of the skirmish line, and then just start giving the dog command to bark and to become aggressive, and work them at the end of a 6-foot leash and just let the dog start getting closer to the people. And hopefully the people were smart enough to back up.
There's always that lack of smart.
Yes, there is, especially when alcohol is usually involved.
Yeah, what do they call that? Liquid.
Liquid courage.
Yes, liquid courage. So dog number 2, were they both males?
Yes.
I thought you said that. What was the names of the first one and then the second one? What were their names?
The first one was Rocky, and then the second one was Chico.
So crowd control, you did the tracking,
Yep.
and you also did just the ordinary traffic stops and things like that. Do you have, obviously no details, no locations, no people. Did you ever have a scenario where you went, that's freaking awesome? Just being with a dog. Did you ever have something where you went, I may not have been able to do it without this dog? Is there anything that just kind of like, that was a cool call?
There's a lot of them. We had one where we were doing an article search, looking for a gun that somebody had fled a scene, and when they caught him, he didn't have the gun. So I had my dog start an article search looking for things with human scent on it. And I was working the dog on a 30-foot leash. The dog got ahead of me, was scanning back and forth. All of a sudden I saw it put its head down, and it was supposed to lay down when it gets to the article. This time the dog, for whatever reason, decided it would be nice to pick it up and just bring it back to me. So I looked up, and there was a large caliber handgun in the dog's mouth as he was walking towards me. And I'm like, you really need to put that down. Yeah, you need to put that down.
Oh my.
We had another time where we went on assisting a local drug task force at a search of a residence, and the dog was searching and searching, and I couldn't figure out what it was doing. It kept jumping up in the corner of a room. Usually that means that something's up high and the odor's dropping down. It was a drop ceiling. We opened the drop ceiling. We couldn't see anything. And then as we pulled down more of the panels, I saw a nail that was just sticking up at the top of one of the 2x4s that looked out of place, and it had a rope, like a string on it. When we pulled the string, on the other side of the wall were a bunch of socks that were just full of money. and all the money had become tainted from the drug dealers handling drugs, and then they handle the money so that the scent of the drugs gets on the money. So we were able to seize a large amount of money because of the
That
dog.
was cool.
So
I bet that was cool.
it's amazing what the dogs can do and what they can smell.
It is. I don't know. You don't know me very well, but that's dogs are my life, and nothing ceases to amaze me with them.
No.
There was another question I had, and I didn't write it down like a silly person. So you weren't expecting to find that, obviously. When did you, once you got your first dog? Now, not being an owner of a dog, now you have a dog, even though you worked with your partner for a little while, that other trooper. When did you realize or come to see that you worked well as a team? You were able to legitimately look at the body language and understand most of the time that you knew what he was doing and he knew what you wanted him to do. When did the team part come into your realization?
I guess we call it when does the team click?
Yes.
And they start realizing what's going on. You start to read the change of behavior in the dog when it's working, when you know that it's getting close to what you think you're looking for. It takes a while, and it's trial and error, and just keep practicing and doing it. And then the more you do it, it becomes second nature to the handler. So when you're a new handler and your dog is doing a narcotic search, and it's what we call in odor, and it's looking to get to the source of the odor, the dog, his behavior changes, and you're looking for different sniffing. His tail might be wagging a little bit different, and they're all little changes of behavior that your dog does when it gets into odor, and every dog is different. So once you start to do it a bunch of times and see when the dog does get in odor what he's doing, then you start to recognize it quicker, and you'll figure it out much faster. So it takes time, but it doesn't happen in a week, it doesn't happen in a month. Depending on what kind of dog it is and what you're looking for, it can take some time. And they usually say that it takes a good year for a handler and his dog to really start working well together. And the dog knowing what you want it to do, and you knowing what the dog's doing.
Did you ever get called out at random times when you weren't on duty to come to a scene?
Yes, we used to get. Yeah, we were on call 24 hours a day. Most of the time that I had the dog, actually the entire time I had the dog, I worked the midnight shift. So I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then at the time we didn't have a lot of dogs in this area, and the local police departments back then were cutting back on their canine programs because of funding issues. So the state police, there was 3 of us that worked out in Western Mass. So we responded to calls all over Hamden, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire County, and then as needed throughout the rest of the state. So we were always on call, and we were always very busy.
You are currently retired, but you're still working with the dogs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And are you in the training part of it? Are you training the trooper and the dog? Are you training just the dog? What does your job look like now?
Now what I do is I work for a private company, and we train canine teams to work in the private sector. So we have commercial accounts where they work in office buildings, loading docks, checking mail coming in. And then we have another part of the company that does cargo work that is looking for
like
explosives.
Airplanes?
Yeah,
like
cargo
airplanes
for airplanes for some of the large shipping companies, and also some passenger aircraft.
Got it. So you do that on a daily? You must have a great job. So is it like a 9 to 5 for you now? You're not on call all the time?
Correct. It's a little bit better than 9 to 5 at times, but yeah, there's no on call. It's a regular 5 days on, 2 days off kind of thing.
But you're not responsible for actually finding a dog for a station or anything. They just bring you the dogs?
Our company purchases dogs from different vendors, mostly Labrador Retrievers, and some Shepherds and Malinois. Then we have trainers that train the dogs to find explosive odor. And then once the dogs are trained to find the explosive odor, our company hires handlers, and we pair up handlers with trained dogs, and then what I do is teach the handler how to work with the dog.
And that's kind of all kinds of dogs? Do you work with a specific kind, or do you work strictly with the scent detecting, the narcotics, the human remains detection, or do you work with also the bite dogs and things like that?
No, the dogs that we put out are strictly just explosive detection dogs.
Got
They're
it.
looking for, in essence, bombs. They're looking for explosive odor.
And maybe this isn't a good question, but I'm going to ask it and you can tell me no. Has this increased in necessity?
Yes. Every time something big happens somewhere,
Right.
you know, then there's a bigger call for these types of dogs. A lot of places like to just have it as a deterrent, so that
Yes.
if somebody has the ill intent to try to get an explosive device into a facility, if they see that there's metal detectors and x-ray machines and a dog standing there, they're probably less likely to try and put it into that environment,
Right.
and put it in an environment that is not being protected as well. So
Yeah.
it's hugely a deterrent type thing.
So what I've been reading about different things, and it's really amazing how much these dogs can smell. I know I did a podcast on their ratio of scent particles to what human beings can do, and it's pretty phenomenal. There was just that one case that wasn't in this state where there was a huge truck, and it was like the largest methamphetamine bust they had ever had. It was in this huge truck. I don't even know why people keep trying to do it that way, but they had placed powdered something around the parameter of inside the truck to throw off the dogs, but that doesn't seem to work. If they are in tune with trying to find a particular scent, or a I don't want to say genre of scent, but a scent that resembles many things in the same field, they can still smell that above bouillon cubes, or chicken legs or something like that.
Right, and we actually work on that in the training process. You train the dog
To not get
to work with
distracted,
your
right?
right, and that's what we call them. We call them distractor odors. All the other odors that they're not supposed to alert to are distractor odors. And then you train them to alert to the specific odors that you want. When I had a narcotics dog, a big thing back then, a lot of narcotics dealers used to think that they could hide the smell with like coffee grounds. So yes, to the human, you wouldn't smell the drugs. All you would smell was coffee. But to a dog, the intense smell of the coffee actually attracted the dog closer, and it would then work through that odor and smell the narcotics odor underneath it. So when they thought they were fooling the dog, they were actually drawing the dog closer to it, so that he could filter that out and then get the odor that they wanted.
That's funny. Was there any call that really you worried where the dog may have been in danger? I mean, all these jobs that dogs are required to do, along with the people, there is a risk factor. And was there any time where you thought, ooh, that could have gone bad? Obviously, yes. I know the answer is yes. But is there one that sticks in your mind where it was like, oh, this could have, for some turn of events, it ended up working out, but it could have gone the opposite way? Was there any time where you were afraid for your dog?
Not necessarily. There are times, because of the type, especially when you're working with a patrol dog, you're putting him into situations where, for lack of a better term, the dog is expendable.
Yes.
So if I'm doing a building search, or doing a track or whatever, I have other troopers or police officers backing me up. But when it comes right down to it, I'm there to find the person, and it's going to be the dog and then me and then everybody else behind me. So the dog is always in danger on every single track you go on, especially if it's a bad guy track. If you're looking for a lost kid, then it's not that bad. But if you're sending your dog into a building search to look for somebody who broke into a building, you have absolutely no idea where that person is hiding, and if they have a weapon or not. So every time you went into one of those situations, the dog was in danger.
Right.
So, and especially with building searches, most of them were done off leash. You'd make an announcement at the door, give up, I'm sending in the dog, and then you would send the dog in, and you would just let the dog work. And they would find the person. If they could grab hold of them, they would. If they couldn't, they would bark, and then that would let you know that they've located the person, and now you would work your way in to get to the dog and find out where they are.
Right. I have a podcast. It's NPC Leica, and we talked about her tours in Afghanistan, and that's exactly what he was saying. It's kind of scary stuff, and it's amazing that these dogs would do anything like that, and how much they've benefited the human race, not just in that way, but in pretty much every other way. What would you tell someone who is looking to get into a field working in a professional caliber, such as a trooper, who's looking to work with canines? How would you encourage this, or what would you say to them if they said, hey, you had the coolest job, how can I do that?
It's a lot of work. There's a lot of commitment. You have to be willing to be that person that's first in line every time. It's a difficult job, and at times it can be extremely scary and frightening. If that's not your thing, then that's probably not your job.
Right, and it's one of those jobs where you don't really have a night off. If there's something going on, whether you worked a 12-hour shift or a 14-hour shift, you'd still have to go because, I mean, nowadays there's more dogs, but there's still not enough.
Correct.
So that would be something they'd have to think about with family obligations and holidays, because crime doesn't stop on a holiday, and
Yep.
sure doesn't say, oh, wait a minute, I'm tired, I'm going to bed, I'll do that tomorrow.
There's
It doesn't work
many
that way.
Christmas mornings where I was out on a track instead of being home.
Were you happy with your choices with working with a dog? Was that something that you just found was very fulfilling?
I loved working with dogs. They were great. I was one of those guys that I liked the thrill of being the guy out front and working with the dog.
I'm not surprised.
It's like I said, it's not for everybody.
Right.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy working with the dogs I work with now. Same thing. They're going out every day and searching things to tell people, I searched this and it's safe for you to go in there. I know that that I searched this stuff that's going to go on that airplane, and I know it's safe for you to go on that airplane because I searched it and I say it's safe.
When you guys were training your dogs, did you train? You probably did not strictly train at the facility. You had to do more training out in the real world in order for them to get that type of experience as well. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. All of our training would be done real world. We would, if we were doing tracks, we would stop somewhere like downtown Springfield, and if we wanted to do tracks on concrete and pavement, we would have somebody run away. One of the other handlers would run down the street and hide, and you would go down the street and try and find them. And we did it real world.
I used to do that with search and rescue dogs. I would volunteer to hide, and I'd have a big little baggie of sausage when they found me. It was kind of cute. Did you ever encounter people when you were out and about where what was supposed to be just training and turned into something you didn't expect? It turned into a real life problem. Say you're at the park and you're doing training with your dog, and there's people around, and all of a sudden someone says, I lost my 2-year-old. Had that anything unexpected during a training? Had that ever happened to you?
It would happen occasionally that you would be in training, and all of a sudden the training scenario turned into a real life scenario, or you'd be in the middle of the training scenario and you'd get a call on the radio that, hey, you guys are training near this location, and we heard on the radio that something is going on close by. Can you break off what you're doing and go right over it and give them a hand? And that used to happen all the time.
Anybody ever tried to interrupt your training sessions? My guess is no, because most dog training police officers are type A personalities and not so approachable at times, but I am a type A personality. So did anyone ever interrupt your training or give you a hard time about training your dog at any time when you were out and about? Not your actual, crowd control dogs where people are always yelling bad things, but were you ever out and about working with your dog and somebody tried to intervene by petting the dog or whatever?
Yeah, that would happen all the time. I mean, they weren't trying to stop what you were doing. They were more, inquisitive, wanting to know what you're doing, and then usually they'd get the question, "Geez, can I pet your dog?" or "Can I do this?" And it depended. It depended on the handler. It depended what we were doing for training at the time. It depended how they were approaching us. Sometimes it was yes, if it's a bunch of little kids or something, you might want to, do the right thing and let them and talk to them and explain what you're doing. Sometimes, if it was a drunk homeless person, you just told them to get
Tell
lost.
them no.
So, yeah, now's not a good time for you to be coming to talk to me.
You did school visits. You mentioned that you brought your second dog. You said that you had, maybe I'm wrong. Did you bring them ever to a school to show people that this is the cool thing?
Schools, shows, yes, schools. We were big with, the whole time I was on the unit, we were big with the Eastern States Exposition during when we would bring our dogs to the Massachusetts State Building. And back then, we would spend the whole 17 days there. Somebody would be there, or a couple handlers would be there every day during the day, putting on dog shows right in the front grass area. We would have a small sound system, and we had a routine for what we called demonstration, that you would show little bits of all the different things the dog does. How he finds things, finds people, and then there was always the guy with a gun running away with the sleeve on or with a bite suit on, and you send a dog.
Gotta
off
say,
to
I
bite
love
him.
that.
So,
I sit there and watch that all day on YouTube sometimes.
And so we used to do that constantly. We did demos all over the place.
Very cool. Yeah, I went to a couple of weeks ago. I took my dog. I have a not so aggressive German Shepherd mixed dog, and I was seeing if he would be interested in bite work, just because. And no, he can't even hold on to a string during tug of war, so it wasn't the thing for him. I was like, oh, but it is not
for every
and
dog.
I think people need to understand that, and it is not. Why did you guys choose? You had mentioned that most of your choice of dogs was golden retrievers, or Labrador retrievers. Labrador retrievers. Tell me why. Yeah. Was there a reason? Less intimidating?
For yes, the dogs are less intimidating. They have a really they have a good nose. The dogs that we do, most of them, probably in the high 90%, are all food reward dogs. So labs will eat just about anything, and as much as you want to pay, as much as you want to give them. So for them to be looking for odor, thinking that they're looking for food, the dogs
Happily.
do it very well. They want to go to work because they know that's how they're going to eat. They're only going to eat when they get into explosive odor. So they're good at that. For the type of work we do around people and around crowds and stuff, they're very approachable, and people will let the dogs approach them. Whereas if you've got a shepherd or a Malinois at the end of a 6-foot leash and you're trying to walk through a crowd of people, they don't usually let the dogs walk around them.
Parting of the ways.
They parting the sea, and they just get out of your way, and that makes it more difficult for the dog to do what it's got to do.
Yeah, I had noticed we go to Martha's Vineyard, and right before you load, there's the dogs standing right there. There's 2 of them usually there, and it is where you want to go pet them, but you can't, and you shouldn't, so you don't ask.
And those 2 dogs that you see there, our dogs that I've trained the handler and the
Oh, no
dog.
kidding.
And
No
they
surprise.
work for our company. That's one of the areas that our company works at.
That's cool. Yeah. And you're right. When I see the dogs, and because I'm so in tune to seeing dogs, I can see a dog in a car that's going way too fast and go, "Oh, did you see that dog?" My husband's like, "No, I just saw him blow a red light, though." When I see those dogs, I love seeing them. I do feel as though I know they're serving a purpose, but it does make me feel like, okay, it's okay to get on this boat because I hate boats. I like them. They hate me. But it's good to see the dogs because it does make you feel like, okay, they're doing their job, and that makes me feel better about getting on this ship. So that's cool. And then I did notice that there's more and more, which makes me thrilled, more and more, not just police departments, but other departments that are bringing in dogs for therapy and for just to help people feel at ease. And it never, ever ceases to amaze me how dogs have been a part of human world throughout history. The world is now seeing what people like me, dog lovers like me, have known all along, that dogs have such a tremendous impact on people by their sheer simplicity of being a dog. There's a huge difference between someone looking at a doodle and looking at a German Shepherd. There's a big difference in how people feel when they see that type of dog. And so everybody thinks German Shepherds and Malinois police dogs. And unfortunately, with the movie out, everybody wants a Malinois, but nobody needs to have a Malinois.
Not everybody needs to have one, and they don't realize the responsibility that comes with owning a dog like that.
Exactly. Those aren't family dogs for the most part. There are the chosen few that maybe somebody can handle, but for the most part, those dogs need a job, and they need an intense job that requires what police do. So, so do you have a dog now at home?
Right this moment, I do. I'm babysitting for one of the other trainers at work. He went on vacation.
Oh, so it's not. I'm thinking, did you ever get a dog after you retired?
No, no. Once I got off the fire marshal's office and I had my lab, had her for a couple months, and then she ended up getting cancer, and we had to put her down. And then after that, I'm like, yeah, I need to take a break from owning a dog for a while.
You had mentioned what was the training? It was NA something?
NAPWADA, North American Police Work Dog Association.
Okay, I'm going to link that as well. Piece of advice that you would give someone who's looking to do this, other than other than what you said, which obviously is very high commitment, and I don't know what the reward is for the commitment, but it's important what you guys do. And
no, if you're going to choose to do that, like I already said, it's a commitment. You have to like dogs. I mean, and you have to want to be driving around with especially when I had a patrol dog. It's the best way I described it. It's like driving around with a 5-year-old kid in your car all the time, and it's yes. Great. It's a lot of fun, but sometimes you want to just turn around and say, "Will you please just shut up?" Because it's either whining.
I'm going to leave you in the car.
Don't make me come back there, because they can be fun, and they can be a lot of fun to work with, but at the same time,
they're a pain in the ass.
Just when you have like you have a 5-year-old at home, it's great for a while, but every so often you just want to say, "Go to your room and get away from me."
Just stop. Yeah, I used to threaten my kids. I'd be like, "Don't make me stop this car, because if I stop this car, you will regret that."
And I used to say that to my dog all the time. If you don't shut up, you're going to walk. I'll tie the leash to the outside of the car, and you'll be running behind the car.
Yes, or dragging. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that way. But yes, yes. True story.
Yep.
Joe, thank you. I appreciate your time. I love
Thank you.
talking to people like you. So I appreciate your time, and go enjoy this. I'm not sure if it's going to rain, but go enjoy this day.